Kelly, you said the storm that came through here was fast and furious. The cleanup and rescue effort is long and tedious. There are flattened businesses behind me just off camera, but you see here now the urgent recovery effort. Several dozen police officers and firefighters are making their way into the rubble of what used to be this home. We have been in contact with some of the family members. Of course, they are desperately hoping and praying that this is a successful recovery effort. Early on, there was communication with the 45-year-old man, a brother, who is just beyond a partition in this basement. We're hearing some of the firefighters communicate back and forth throughout this recovery effort. We've already seen some firefighters make their way down once, come back out and ask for more directions. They're trying to gain access to the man, and we know that within the last hour, someone has been able to make verbal contact with him. This is a desperate scene here, of course. We told you earlier in the 4 o'clock hour that just about half a mile, I guess it would be a half a mile east of here, there was a scene where an entire bedroom collapsed, a second-story bedroom, and a person was just inside. He thought to put a hard hat on before the bricks came crashing in. He survived, narrowly escaping without any injuries there. His cousin, who was farther down in the home, also having that strong, severe wind come through his home. He also survived, but here again, we've been watching as emergency management helicopters, or what looks to be emergency management helicopters, flying over the scene, surveying and scanning the damage. I think they're basically on standby, ready to take someone to the hospital if they need to. You see here on this side window, the firefighters trying to make their way back down in for this rescue attempt. But if you just look at the first floor, you see how difficult and desperate this situation is. Look at that many tons of bricks that have just collapsed on what used to be a living room area, what used to be a bedroom. The entire roof collapsing, and on top of it, entire doors from the second floor gone. So we have more family members coming through here. We're waiting to hear from them if they're in touch with some folks. They're trying to give some direction to the emergency managers here. We're just listening. They're trying to desperately reach some other family in the area to also figure out what's going on here. But we just wanted to give you a scene of what these officers are doing. And one other thing I'll tell you, Kelly, is that all the family members, all the people who live here, have expressed deep gratitude to these firefighters and the police officers that are putting themselves in harm's way, going through tough spots here and trying to offer as much quick, steady help as they can. But these are tough times. If we even just should we give you a look at some of the other damage here? I know some folks might just be getting home from work or tuning in. Our photojournalist, Andy Broadway, will turn a camera around here and show you just the other side of this lot here on Newstead Avenue in North St. Louis. This was a barber shop. You see broken windows, boards, the entire building collapsing here with the strong winds that came through. Trees toppled all the way down St. Louis Avenue, making it hard for school buses and parents to traverse the way and get through town. Quite the scene here. It came and went just that quick, but you can see it's going to be a while before all this is picked back up. But for now, I'll throw it back to you in the studio. Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
Mark, do we have any indication? I know this is such a painstaking process for first responders to try to locate this man. Do they have any indication? Have they been able to communicate with him at all?
I have not physically been able to confirm that in the last 30 minutes since we've been on scene. What I know is that when the house came down in the early aftermath, there was hope, there was communication, there was some verbal back and forth. The more recent scene has been that firefighters have tried to make their way down to him, and they came back out frustrated that they couldn't find their way through this basement. We can only see a little bit from the outside, but it does look like some of the damage, some of the collapsed weight of these bricks and the walls and the roof might have impeded their access a little bit. There looks to be some obstacles through these windows, and just listening to the firefighters come back out a bit frustrated, unable to find their way through, you can only imagine that it's not exactly an easy route to get to him. So this is a difficult and desperate task here, and I'll just tell you, we're not going to do any live interviews with these family members. They're going through a lot right now, but just talking to them a little bit off camera, you really get the sense that they're really going through a tough time. They're quite frantic, desperate, and just hoping and praying that their 45-year-old brother and loved one makes it out of this alive.
Absolutely, and we are also, our thoughts are with them and also with the first responders who are trying to reach this man. We'll check back in with you in a little bit.